It's this Loeffner slayings in Arizona in January, associated with a satanic cult organization affiliation of the gunmen. The fact that he had FBI clearance as a lunatic to purchase this weapon. Killed and/or maimed 20 people, including federal court judge John Roll. We'll mention that in a minute. But look again at the role of the FBI. Yesterday, Sherri and I spent a good part of the day dealing with the FBI in San Francisco, giving them this information, requiring them by complaint to give it to Internal Affairs, because there's infiltrators in FBI, in CIA, rogue agents, operatives engaged with Michael Aquino. And Ted Gunderson, as you know, he's a favorite fan of this organization. He is a Division 5 FBI retiree, chief, overseeing about 700 employees throughout the Southern California region. And his focus has been this concept of child trafficking and the satanic pedophilia, sex slavery rings that were operating. So this concept of the Church of Satan being infiltrated, working with the agent provocateurs, gets very, very real and convincing when you start to put the pieces of this extraordinary puzzle together. And one great place to start, going online to YouTube and watching the Geraldo Rivera coverage of this matter, interviewing Ted Gunderson right next to Church of Temple of Satan, Church of Satan director Michael Aquino. A little bit of background on Aquino is U.S. military, United States Army, top MK Ultra propagandist for the military. Came back after the Vietnam War. Decided, because they took supposedly, allegedly, a beating by the media. Go back to the Vietnam War, late 60s, early 70s. You had, for the first time in history, the media showing the blood and guts and the horror of Vietnam and the war. And so what was happening there required a upscaling of the propaganda and media manipulation for the mass mind control. This is where the Church of Satan, Temple of Set founder, Michael Aquino, he was earlier with Anton LaVey, who was the creator of the Church of Satan. He was partnered with Anton LaVey and then moved on to have his own Temple of Set. And this is Michael Aquino, who was interviewed by Geraldo Rivera, and it's online for your viewing.
Like, people need to realize that, you know, you hear people like Ted Gunderson as a hero in the movement saying, I'm here to protect the children against child sex trafficking, and, you know, I'm going to help expose this, and I'm the hero in that, and I'm the hero to help prevent them from being hurt by Satanists. But in reality, he is one of them, and he's not protecting anybody. He's working. He's a double agent. He's working for them, and he's coming out and saying that he's protecting the children from them.
What evidence is there of that?
Well, I've been getting, you know, I actually had contacts with a woman named Barbara Hartwell who toured with Ted Gunderson. She was actually very, very close to him. And when she found out that there was these horrific crimes with John DeCamp, who was the senator in Nebraska who wrote the Franklin cover-up, and Ted Gunderson knew about it and was involved in this as well, because the Franklin cover-up was about a 13-year-old boy who was kidnapped, but it was just a cover-up really for the bigger crimes that were going on with Bohemian Grove, which was a place that the globalists went on their vacation, and they basically took young children and tortured them, put them in satanic rituals, and had them as sacrifices and had them as slaves. And so child sex slavery is going on everywhere. And when I first met Len, I told him my passion was to really expose who's behind child sex trafficking and help these children from these pedophiles. And I said, that is my passion, to help the children. I love animals as well, but I want to help these children. I want to focus on that. And I want to get the message out to people and find out really who's behind it and how we can stop it. So I got a letter from Barbara Hartwell, who was touring with Ted Gunderson. It was a personal letter, and in the letter she sent me, it was something that Ted Gunderson had denied for years, that he was married to the founder of the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey's ex-wife, Diana. And this letter is where he clearly states that he was married to Diana.
So he had lied to this community for years, saying that he had no relationship, that it was simply Barbara Hartwell's propaganda. But she actually just a little while ago produced the letter that he actually sent her. Now,
she had never given this letter to anybody. I mean, she was
buried
really,
since 1998.
She was really close to Ted Gunderson, and you know, it
they
broke her
toured
heart.
Together. And what's really important, and we'll show this in a minute. We're getting short on time,
And you
so
really
we have to
like
go quick.
Ted as well.
I mean, frankly, everybody here knows I'm a pretty likable guy, and I like a lot of people. And frankly, I have to admit to you publicly, I am extremely naive when it comes to discerning human beings. I simply come from a place where I expect people to be in integrity, to keep their word, to be loving people. And so when I met Ted, I found him to be warm. We always hugged, we always chatted at these kinds of meetings. I had the wool pulled over my eyes. Sherri didn't. I want to just mention, and this is extremely important, Barbara Hartwell's assignment to tour with Ted Gunderson was to do exactly what we're telling you, to infiltrate various media, to deliver the messages that you've got horrible sex, child trafficking issues, that your officials, your public officials like the Bush family are involved in this. That was their assignment. At the time, Barbara claims to not have really known that this was actually going on. It was like an assignment. But then she found out differently. One of the things that we ask you to do from now on, one of the lessons to learn, is this concept of looking at people to discern the truth about them, their energy and their believability, their credibility. Look at their eyes. This is a segment that Sherri put together that will show you an indication of what was displayed on television by Ted Gunderson.
FBI veteran, former head of the regional office in Los Angeles. Is there a network of these satanic murderers in this country, do you allege?
I cannot say that there's a network of satanic murderers. I can say that based on information furnished to me by confidential sources and informants, based on interviews with dozens of survivors from the satanic operations through the years, satanic beliefs, etc., I can say that there is a network of these people across the country who are very active. They have their own rest and relaxation farm. They are in contact with each other. It ties in loosely to the drug operation, ties into motorcycle gangs, and it goes on and on. They have their own people who are specialized in surveillances and photography and in assassinations.
The stories, dump in the ocean, chop up the bodies, these things, they sound like they can't be happening. Ted Gunderson, respected law enforcement professional, recently or retired now from the FBI, former regional director of Los Angeles. Do you, sir, believe that these dreadful allegations of babies being sacrificed are true?
I absolutely believe it, without any doubt. Based on the information that's been given to me across the country by numerous survivors and by confidential sources and informants.
Then why don't you name these people and arrest them? Never a name, never an arrest. These women come out of a group and they insist that they know the people in the group, and yet they do not identify these large mysterious cults. Name them and arrest them and get them off the street.
Does he not make a valid point?
He makes a valid point. The problem with that is, number one, police officers don't believe it. I may believe it. You may believe it. Some people in your audience may believe it. They don't believe it. Number two, if you decide to investigate these people, you have to, number one, handle it from an undercover operation. If you put an undercover operation into effect, then you have, in a sense, your own police officers become involved in these heinous crimes, and they are, of course, become murderers. And in addition to that, if you do decide to investigate these people, it's a lot of work. And many law enforcement officers are apathetic and don't want to get involved.
Does it disrupt? Is it a force for everything negative?
Well, If you're talking about Satanism as legitimate Satanists define it, absolutely not. It is ethical, it is above ground, it is positive. If you are talking about the devil as it is defined by religions such as Father Labar's, then it is, in fact, a symbol of degenerate behavior, and this is part of our problem tonight.
Should we have warnings, sir, the way we do on cigarette packs, for people coming into your houses of worship? Warning, this sect may be dangerous to your health and the health of the people you know.
No, because in the case of the Temple of Set and the Church of Satan, we have not had any problems with criminal behavior. Among
And yet
other
when you
things,
hear story after story after story of people committing these wretched crimes, these violent crimes in the devil's name,
you find one common thread to that, that all these people that you've shown tonight come from a background in which their moral instruction has been from a religious tradition other than ours. It may be Father Labar's, it may be some other mainstream one, but it is not that of Satanism.
And in addition to that, if you do decide to investigate these people, there's a lot of work. If you do decide to investigate these people, there's a lot of work.
Jeff, have you reached out to Noreen? What have you told her?
I have not been in communication with this woman. I have not been in communication with this woman.
How about we talk about Gannongate? Jeff, are you on any type of payroll, White House, Republican?
Absolutely not. Never. Never. I have been in the past or now.
Jeff?
There are dozens of people who have known me most of my life that could definitely vouch for the fact that I am not this person. There are dozens of people who have known me most of my life that could definitely vouch for the fact that I am not this person.
In case you're not aware where that clip came from with Jeff Gannon, it came from the Valerie Plame affair when Valerie Plame was outed by a White House official for being an undercover CIA agent. The person that outed her was Jeff Gannon. Jeff Gannon was a known prostitute that went undercover as a journalist to get into the White House, and that's who Ted Gunderson says is 100% Johnny Gosch, which is a very, very, very possible. But here was an opportunity for Ted Gunderson to expose this whole sickening child sex trafficking thing that was going on with Bohemian Grove, and really the real story behind what was going on with Johnny Gosch and how he was kidnapped.
This was headline news at that time, and it was an opportunity that was grossly neglected. And interestingly enough, who does Ted Gunderson say is the top expert in the field of this satanic church, Michael Aquino sex trafficking ring? He claims it is Doug Millar. I kid you not. It's in writing on Doug Millar's website and in various places. One of those places is on Dr. Truott's website called labvirus.com. On LabVirus, you'll find a ton of information that is counterintelligence disinformation. And again, when you read, for example, this letter that Doug Millar was supposed to have written to Michael Aquino in response to Gunderson, it's kind of like they play good cop, bad cop. You got Gunderson, the good cop, Michael Aquino, the bad cop, playing this game, and then they assign Doug Millar to respond to the bad cop Aquino. It's bizarre, it's ridiculous, and it is intentionally discrediting